Action! Welcome back to Show and Tell, everyone. I'm Billy, and I'm your host. I am coming to you from a beautiful sunny morning in Manhattan, and I am wearing today my finished object, my self-designed sweater that I've entitled Thelma Viscountess Furness. Let me give you the full experience. I'll insert a picture of my inspiration. I should tell you, I'm also going to do an entire episode. I've done part 1 of the creation of this, but I'm going to do a second episode where I show how I completely revamped everything and approached the problem from a different angle. And it's done. It was a long time in the making. I should give a shout out to Susan Elias, who doesn't seem to be related, but is an expert seamstress. And she was my consultant on the sleeve. I was really worried about how to achieve this kind of a shape. It's dolman. I didn't know how long to make it. And the way this sweater was constructed, the sleeve is a continuation from the neckline over. And I'll go into this more when I do that whole episode, but she was really helpful to me. She gave me some parameters to try and stay within. I'll probably try and get some close-up pictures of these beautiful French marcasite pins and little diamond necklace. You know, jewelry's a thing for me, and some Art Deco earrings. I do have a guest today, so I don't want to spend too much time with you to detract from her. But there's a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, I forget to mention this. There are subtitles on all of my episodes, and they exist in a variety of languages, not just English. So this corner where you hit the subscribe button, there's also a little gear. And if you select the gear and there's like a little thing that says CC, there's a pop-up menu eventually that you can get to where you can select your language. So if English is not your first language, please go ahead and use that. If you're looking for me on social media, I can be found on Instagram as billietoy, and I'll put the spelling here. And same on Ravelry, also as billietoy. I also want to call your attention to the show notes where I'll put some other information for you. At the very bottom is a whole list of products that are available on Amazon that you may be interested in purchasing. And if you do, it helps support the show. Of course, you can always Venmo me if you wanted to try and help out. It looks like I'm going to be needing a new computer soon, so that could come in handy. But down below, all kinds of things from stitch markers to blocking mats to Ziploc bags for storing your fine woolens so that you know what doesn't come in contact with them. Anyway, check that out. There might be things there of interest. I also wanted to remind you about the knit along that I'm hosting for a 1940s cardigan. It's by Serdar, and if you go to Instagram and do the hashtag Serdar Chevron, again, I'll put the spelling on the screen so you'll have that, and it'll be in the show notes as well. There's still time for you to join. We're not going to kick off until April 15th. So take a look at that, and maybe that's something that you want to do. And I think I'm going to try and use Zoom to have people come on and communicate with one another. I think it would be fun to be able to discuss. In just a moment, I'm going to be back with my guest. My next guest will introduce herself and tell us a little bit about where she's from. I know it's Sweden. More than that, I don't know. So Erika, take it away.
Hi, everybody. My name is Erika, and I'm from Sweden, and I live about 4 hours south of Stockholm. So it's a quite small city, and it is very, very beautiful. It's just by the coast, and it's actually the birthplace of Björn Ulvaeus from the famous band ABBA. Mamma Mia, yes. So he is actually
Mamma
built.
Mia. Here we go. In case
Exactly.
there's somebody too young on this to remember ABBA, I remember.
Yes, and he built a beautiful hotel. It feels like you're on the water because you have water on all sides almost.
Wow. What's the name of the hotel? Do you know?
Slottsholmen in Swedish.
Okay, I'm going to have to look that up and get the proper spelling so people can actually find it.
Yes.
Great. We're here to talk about your vintage sweaters. Do you wear exclusively vintage? Because I've seen on Instagram. Tell us your Instagram handle so others can find you.
Erika Desiree's Vintage. And I just recently changed it because last year I opened it up and started posting pictures of what I was actually wearing. And it is like 95% all vintage or vintage inspired brands that I'm wearing.
So all the time?
All the time, all day.
Wow. It's really a delightful, wonderful practice, I think. I'm envious a little bit.
Mm.
Okay, so tell us about the sweater that you're wearing first.
Yes, this is one of my absolutely favorite ones, and it's very easy. It's simple one with just normal stockinette, I think it's called in English, and some pearls, rose, and so on. But I love the color, and it's in wool, so it's very. You can see it's like small details here, just very, very simple, and a zipper on the shoulder. And I buy all my zippers secondhand, so I have these old ones that I attach to all my garments. And also all the buttons are vintage.
That's wonderful too. Yeah. I'm suddenly becoming very interested in vintage buttons, and the person who I knew to get them from was only showing at shows, and now all shows have been canceled. So I'm kind of scurrying around trying to find people in the United States who sell vintage, and it's a process. I know in Europe they're great people.
Yes, and we can find them. I found a lot of them in just normal thrift stores.
Just the buttons, not the garment.
Not the garments, no, the buttons.
Just loose buttons. Wow. I have to keep my eye out maybe. Okay, and on the mannequin?
Yes, I'm gonna remove these. This is the sweater that my grandma made me. It was the first one, and it's a very beautiful sports cardigan, 1940s sports cardigan. She asked me if I wanted something, and I said, could you knit this one? And I sent her the pattern, and she did it. My grandma is 90 years old this June.
And how long ago did she knit that?
I think it's about 2 years ago now.
Wow.
88. And did this for me. And it was actually the garment that also made me realize I need to learn how to knit.
So you've only just learned in the last couple of years?
Yes.
And I know you have a lot of other things to show us. That's most impressive.
Well, due to the pandemic, I have no life. No, I do have a life, but it's, I've always wanted to learn and do it more proper, but now I had the time. Everything else was canceled.
That is the silver lining. That is the upside to this whole situation. And I think as a fellow knitter, I can only wholeheartedly agree. I mean, this has been a nightmare, but that is The big plus side of it, yes. A lot of
It
us have
is.
knit quite a lot in the last year.
And since I have two small children, I like sewing, but knitting allows me to do that while I'm watching them play with Lego or drawing, and I can sit next to them.
It's
And
portable. You
it
can
is.
take it
I can, yes.
away with you.
It's so great.
Okay, what else? I see some patterns in the background.
Yes, I just wanted to show them because I get a lot of questions on my Instagram. Where did you find a pattern? And I've actually found a lot of old pattern books. So you have the year 1948, and they're so beautiful.
And these are in Swedish.
These are in Swedish. So usually when people ask me, how did you make it and so on, it's very, well, it's copyright and also in Swedish.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a lot of them. It's very nice to not to have to go online and find everything. And I just started learning the terms in English in order to make other patterns as well. So,
where have you found these? Where have you purchased them? Online, or are you going to like garage sales?
Both, but we have this Swedish site. It's almost like Etsy, where you can buy things secondhand. So I've been very lucky. I found a whole stack of these in one. So this is the one I'm wearing.
Ah, that's terrific. That's amazing. I had a Brazilian guest on, and she too was collecting these old patterns. She has a very large collection. Most of them are not in Brazilian, but nevertheless, it's a great thing to collect. I don't see them. I'm not actively searching for them, but.
Exactly. And when I started making in this color that I have, of course, I wanted this twin set. So I made a cardigan to go with it.
I totally love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the color.
The color is very great, and it works with almost all the brown, black, white, so it's very versatile. And these buttons are also buttons I found thrifting. So
you have blue eyes?
Yes.
So when you wear this, does it make your eyes look bluer, more blue?
I think so, yes. And with my hair color, really it suits me. I love this color very well. One of the first garments I made with different colors is this one.
Cute.
And I just saw this pattern on a sweater on an Instagram, and I paused the video, I think it was a video or something, and just drew it down so I could make it into my own pattern.
Oh, good for you.
Yes. And this was the first time I actually tried to make this puff sleeve. So learning by doing, that is my cup of tea all the time. One of the most useful garments during winter times and autumn in Sweden. It's quite cold, and I work in a very cold school, an old building. So this little slipover doesn't look that much to the world, but it's super comfortable to wear with a nice puff-sleeved blouse underneath. It looks great.
And when it's so plain like that, you can accessorize it.
Exactly. I have a quite large collection of brooches now as well. So to add these makes, you can change it up very, very much. And it goes fast knitting. It's just normal stocking stitch.
Oh, sure. Without sleeves, much faster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's why I started making short sleeves. It's spring and it goes faster. This one is also a very favorite. It's dark green with puff sleeves and this little bow detail here and some old vintage buttons in glass.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm. And the yarn, I actually had a lot of leftovers. I knitted a vest for my husband. And I thought, oh, let's be a bit matchy-matchy. So I always tend to buy too much yarn when I'm doing a project. I think I'm very pessimistic, think, no, it's not enough. I need to buy more.
I wish I'm striving to be more in that camp. One of my last sweaters, I ran out of yarn.
Oh,
and then you wish that you had bought extra.
Mm-hmm. And after I've done this green jumper with this kind of panel pattern, I decided, okay, I'm gonna push myself and try and make something on my own and just use my knowledge that I have. And that's when I came up with this one.
So it's very similar, but without the bow.
Exactly, and it has this box shoulder detail instead that I did.
It's interesting to see the same sweater in two different colorways, because in the light color, you can see the texture and the buttons so much more. Does the green one also have the texture on the sleeve?
No, it doesn't. It has a puff sleeve. So this one has this kind of square shape. This one is more like this normal puff sleeve. So this one I follow the pattern. And the other one, I think I combined like 3 different patterns and just went with it.
Because you can really see the texture on the sleeve. That's nice.
Yes, and this is a different type of yarn as well. So it's a bit harder and thicker. And to make my box shoulder stand a little bit, I've actually added just some ribbons inside.
Wow.
To make it kind of
okay,
pop.
People, comment below if you've ever seen that. I've never seen that.
No, it was a friend of mine who kind of suggested that use some leftover and just sew it together and you have a shoulder pad.
Interesting. Good tip.
Yeah, I use whatever I have. No shops are open, so use what you have in store. This one, as I say, it's I'm learning by doing. This one, it was the first time I did some embroidery on a sweater. And you can tell that we need warm sweaters here in Sweden. And long sleeved. This one is also very, very warm and cozy and with a bit of autumn colors. Did it last autumn.
Will you hold that embroidered part up really close to the camera? Thanks, that's great.
And these were hanging on. This is also my grandma who's been knitting these Miss Marple scarves. She made for me a lot of them in different colors and also for my kids. She likes the same colors as I do. I don't have to ask her to choose a good color. I know she will do that. So of course I had to make my own. So this one is made by me, but it has a different pattern. I'm gonna try and show. It's like stripes or squares, I don't know. Bit of difference there. And I made it a bit shorter. Hers are quite long. And then of course you have to, I mean, I like a good vest. So, and I like blue, the color blue. So this one is with a, see if you can see there, like small squares.
Right.
This one is also super useful to have with a beautiful blouse with puff sleeves or in different colors.
The buttons, the buttons get me every time.
Yes. Should have a whole episode with just buttons.
I'm waiting for that right person. I mean, if anybody out there wants to recommend someone, I want someone who's really an expert in.
I have one.
You do?
My
A
friend.
person who can talk about buttons?
I don't know if she wants to make a video of it, but my best friend from childhood, she's the one who's collecting. She has like all the buttons and knows everything about what they're made of and how they're painted.
There are people who are collectors, certainly in the United States, but I want someone who's like in our time period, who's you know, between the wars, and really knowledgeable about those buttons. Because I know there are people who collect Civil War, you know, 19th century. I want
the expert on the
early 20th century. Yeah.
buttons.
So if somebody knows, like, that would be a good guest for me to bring on, because I think a lot of us need these vintage buttons and would like to know more about them and the materials. Definitely. And yeah.
Now I was thinking, this is my latest project, and since we're heading towards summer, even in Sweden, it's going to be warm. I've started making this cute little bolero. And it's supposed to be with embroidery on. So see if I can put if I can do that, if I dare to do that. I have the yarn. I've never done it. But if not, I have a white bolero to use. And it has this very, very cute puff sleeve.
Very sweet. It could be very elegant.
And this one is actually one of the first patterns I've read in English and how to make it. So I found it for free online, 1940s pattern. Yes, and I have this one. Made it a bit too short, but I like the color anyway. It's a sporty, it was called a cheek tennis jumper. I don't know who wants to play tennis in one of these. Quite warm.
The light just caught the texture. Wonderful. Yeah.
So it's ribbing, like in a heart shape. See here. Very, very comfortable, and I used to wear it when we go hiking or something. You can wear it underneath a jacket or with pants or with a skirt, whatever works.
Well, I think I've heard it said that sweaters are called sweaters because of sweat, like a sweatshirt. But the thing about wool is that it's sort of self-cleaning. So if you're going to be sweating, better to sweat in wool than something that's going to need to be washed right away.
Exactly. So my grandma, she knitted for my daughter. She's 5.
Go, Granny, go.
And this is, I sent her a pattern from one of my books for a 1950s cardigan for a girl.
What else is Granny still doing? Is she still driving a car?
No, she's not.
Okay.
She lives in the north part of Sweden, and they have still a lot of snow. It's about 120 Swedish miles from here, so it's quite far. It takes 14 hours to go by car.
But she still up and about and
Yeah, she's cooking, and my grandpa is alive, and
oh, how
they
wonderful. Good. I'm
so
happy to hear that.
yeah, and I think it's very cute with this a little matchy. My daughter always wants me to make things for her, but it takes time to knit, and she's growing so fast. So I decided that she can wear what my grandma is knitting, because my grandma likes to knit for the grandchildren.
Lucky you. Wonderful.
Yeah, it is. So we can kind of divide the work. I did one of my first cardigans was in a pattern that it didn't really fit me, but it was so beautiful on my mom. So she has that cardigan now. Since I can't say that I recently learned, but I haven't been knitting my whole life. So it's starting to pile up these things.
It seems like you're done. The pile is.
Yeah, this was all the sweaters I had here.
Okay, so. Well, it's fantastic that you were able to share those with us, and bravo for you, a new knitter, and all that you've accomplished. And your things look lovely, and the buttons are certainly a wonderful enhancement. And it's been short but very sweet. So
yes. So this is me, very efficient.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's say goodbye. Thank you for being here, and happy knitting. I hope the pandemic ends soon, but that you'll continue to knit nevertheless.
I will. I think so.
All righty. Bye now.
Bye.